of the Congress, I have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you the President of the United States.
During President Clinton's first term in office, the 103rd Congress began their debate on the Crime Control and Prevention Bill. The 1994 Crime Bill was introduced to amend the Omnibus Crime Control and Safe Streets Act of 1968. According to the congressional record, the bill allowed for grants to increase police presence, to expand and improve cooperative efforts between law enforcement agencies and members of the community, and to otherwise enhance public safety.
However, it's important to address the fact that the bill was highly controversial. One provision would allow people on death row to appeal using statistical evidence that the death penalty is racially biased. This would overrule a 1987 Supreme Court ruling that made statistics all but irrelevant in death row appeals. According to this provision, if a death row inmate can show a statistically significant pattern of bias in similar cases tried in the same courts, the burden would fall on the prosecutors.
But what if, knowing what we know today, we could rewrite the final Crime Control and Prevention Bill? Which provisions would we choose to keep, and which would we deem ineffective? By combining sociological research, case law, and student opinion, we must renegotiate the final bill. Notably, we've been told to disregard issues of political feasibility outside of the conference committee. The final price tag must be no more than $22.3 billion.
Do you think hiring more police officers will increase the police officers' involvement in the community?
I think a lot of police forces are undermanned, and so it might help, especially in certain places that are high crime areas, just to have a bigger police presence. But I think in areas like Berkeley, in areas that are residential, suburban areas, that it's not going to make that much of a difference.
How do you feel about gun control in general?
The founders probably did not it was not their intention to have it interpreted as it is today, and I definitely think we need to take more of like a less step away from that originalist approach towards the Constitution and reevaluate how safe our community really is with the guns. And so, for example, like I've had a lot of experience in China, and a lot of the guns are completely outlawed there, and it's much safer there because you know that people aren't walking around with these firearms. And so I think that like just not only having them is risky, but just the fact that like the potential for accidents with the firearms is just too big of a risk to really justify holding up the Second Amendment.
I actually grew up in an area where a lot of hunting is done, and I think that there's no reason to shoot an animal with an automatic rifle. If you've ever been hunting, there's no need for semi-automatics. And so I think calling a semi-automatic gun a hunting rifle is a misnomer, and there's no reason to exempt a semi-automatic gun regardless of what people say they're using it for.
How do you feel about preventative and community programs?
I think that we need a lot more community programs and a lot less prisons.
Why do you say a lot for your prisons?
I don't think that prisons, as they're used right now in California, are serving a purpose. I don't think that overall they're helpful to the state.
How do you feel about the 3 strikes law?
I'm opposed.
I think that the 3 strikes law is not good, because definitely like the 3rd strike can sometimes be like a very minor offense compared to their first 2, and it doesn't. I think that like the justice system in general, like the principle of it is that, you know, we judge people on a case-by-case basis and don't punish them for past offenses. And so I think that ideally it would be a case-by-case basis, but then again, you don't have the same judge and the same jury at every single court, and so, or in every single case. And so if that would be ideal, but since that's not obviously possible, then I can see why they want to have the 3 strikes law. But in general, I just think that it's against the law. Like you're punishing them for past offenses when you really should be judging them based on that one case.
What are your thoughts on the death penalty?
I'm against it for 3 reasons. Number 1, it's ineffective. It doesn't deter crime. Number 2, any mistake cannot be reprimanded, which means if you kill someone through the death penalty and you're wrong, you can't bring their life back for them nor their family. Number 3, hey, when was the law ever correct in making life?
Since 1976, 230 people have been executed for murder in the United States. Only one of these people was a white person convicted of killing a black person. What are your thoughts on giving future death row inmates the opportunity of using statistical evidence of racial bias to appeal their case?
I think it's fair. Sure. Like anything that would eliminate bias is probably fair. And I think that there probably has been some sort of racial bias out there. It's been discussed a lot. So I think everyone deserves a chance for an appeal, period. So whether or not it's to eliminate bias or for whatever sense, I would probably support it if I had to make a decision.
Would you support a bill that would inject a minimum of $15 billion into the construction of new state prisons and community programs geared towards crime prevention?
No, I don't, because we're wasting so much money on prisons and we're not spending any money on education that essentially can help people not go into crime. So I feel like, or actually I think that we should implement more economics or more money into education systems more so than prisons.
The last provision concerns mandatory penalties for first-time nonviolent offenders.
Our final version of the 1994 crime bill, a blend of the House and Senate versions, comes out to $22.3 billion.